Shed
This is podcast episode 2 for Real Hunting. And we are here
Oh, you're starting?
in our sweet hotel room.
I like it.
You're playing your chapstick?
Yeah, go.
Well,
Sorry, I
This is
interrupted.
all relaxing. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Is that supposed to work for you?
Nope.
Hey guys, all right, thanks for coming. This episode 2 Real Hunting. Before we get started, click that like button, subscribe, and
If you like it.
if you like it, whether or not, it doesn't matter. No. So, all right, we are here in Utah still. We're going to kind of give a rundown. This is our second episode for the podcast. We're going to talk about shed hunting.
We've kind of gone over it in the past few videos, but go back to the first video and check out the giveaway that we're doing, Axis Hunt down in Texas. Ben followed up our last line hunt video that we did today with that. But we're going to talk a little bit about how our day went today, and then we also want to hit on sheds. If you watched the first podcast, you'll know the difference between us three and where we came from, and the different parts of the U.S. that we live in, stuff like that.
And as you know, this is Ben Dettamanti, aka Shedcrazy.
Yes.
So he
Sheddy.
knows everything, all things about shed hunting.
Hashtag Sheddy.
I do a little bit of shed hunting, but homie over here, that's his life.
I do this much shed hunting. Let's turn that AC off real quick for you guys.
Got the background noise going. Yeah, I like to shed hunt. I'm not saying I'm the best shed hunter. I'm not the best shed hunter, but I have been fairly obsessed with it for like 10 years now.
Dang, dude.
That's just obsessed.
I guess
Not
we
probably
hit that.
since you've been started.
Yeah, I mean, I started shed hunting. The first time I ever got into it, I was like 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
And that was, 35 years ago.
So that's insane.
35 years
50
ago.
now. I
Yeah,
feel I feel like hanging out with young kids.
So I'm from Texas, and I don't know. Shed hunting is not like I never knew that people made an actual living shed hunting. Like, you can go make a salary in a shed season,
Allegedly.
which is, well, he's done it. So allegedly, you can.
You can. It's just
It's a grind.
It's a grind.
It is, and you have to definitely, the game's changed a lot too from when I dove into it, because there used to just be so many more opportunities and more sheds around and stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's really popular, so the price of Antler is also way higher now because supply and demand, I guess. But you can still make money at it. You can still buy and sell Antler, but most folks, if you break even with your gas money, you're doing pretty
You
good.
do good. Find a horn, pay for gas.
Yeah.
I've been shed hunting. I've shed hunted since 2005, but I have never been like diehard shed hunter. I've made some trips, but and I obviously, as you know, on my channel I have a couple sheds, shed hunting videos, stuff like that. But
You're into the pranks, huh?
I prefer when I go out. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When I go out, I got tired of not finding sheds. Like Ben says, shed hunting nowadays is a lot different than it was back in 2005. Even all the way up to probably 2012, 2013 is when it really started to tank. And then I started finding less and less sheds. And I think it's contributing to two factors. One being lots of people hitting the hills shed hunting, becoming really popular. And then also a lot of the units I used to shed hunt have been poorly managed for sheds. I think that there's less bulls, less horns. So I started just pranking people on the side of the road with sheds because I got tired of not finding anything. But I still do love shed hunting, and I want to kind of get Ben's thoughts on a few things with regard to shed hunting and how popular it is. Like, I don't know. With the places that you shed hunt, obviously you kind of hold those close to heart.
Yeah.
And things. But do you still find whites, and what do you say the ratio is of what you used to find as far as whites and chalks versus now?
So it's always evolving, and for those of you who don't know, I primarily hunt elk sheds, but also mule deer sheds. The vast majority of what we do takes place on public land. I hunt pretty much sheds in the western United States, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, a little bit in Colorado, Idaho. But it has changed a lot as it's gotten more popular. There's spots now that are becoming really well known where it's rare to find white antlers at all.
Yeah.
It used to be like 10-1 whites to browns. And for those that don't know, we're talking about the grade of the antler. So after an antler falls off a deer or an elk's head, sits out in the sun for a while, it can get sun bleached. If it's old and cracked up and sitting there for a really long time, it's graded as chalk, or we call it chalk antler. Or if it's maybe been sitting a year or two but not really cracked up, we call it a white or a hard white. And then a brown antler is an antler that fell within the last year or so and is still fresh color. And like we put a lot of time into figuring out when and what the deer and the elk are doing when they drop, and so we're out there trying to get the fresh ones like as quick as you possibly can. And because of that, because everybody else is doing the same thing, there's a lot of places where you just don't find whites anymore. But as states have changed, like Colorado and Nevada have both put in seasonal restrictions in the last 3 or 4 years on their antlers, and you can only gather them during certain times. And I think there's a few more whites around now because of that. I think that there's some antler that's getting missed because, like, for example, in Nevada, by the time you can start hunting and picking up elk sheds, it's like May 1st, and it's hot, and the rattlesnakes are out, and most guys are going to go a few times and get burned out, and so I think more antler gets left on the ground. The majority of the browns get picked up illegally before the season opens.
Ooh.
Yeah, people just...
Is that a little frustrating?
For sure, especially if you're a rule follower. Like, in our line of work, what we do, I have to play 100% by the book.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there that are going.
Yep, people just go out there. There's people hitting it right now even though it's closed. And you know who you are. And if you're watching this video, you're punk.
So I definitely, like I said, I'm from Texas. Shed hunting is like a foreign thing for us. But I have some questions that I've wanted to ask for a long time. But let's hit on today real quick. Let you guys know what we did today. If you watch the previous videos, you'll see this, but we went line hunting. Today was day 1 of our line hunt. This is my sixth line hunt. They've both killed a lion. So I got the tag right here. It's in this pocket. And we treated a lion today. It was a female. We decided not to take her. Think it was a good call. We got 2 days left, 3 if needed. And hopefully we can get on a big tom. But we literally... It was the craziest thing because this is stuff I always hear about. It never happens to people. It seems like it's always a story, but a guy literally called us and said, I just saw a mountain lion jump the highway. And one of his guys went and cut the track. We were there as fast as we could, almost hit a cow, almost hit a mule deer going down a dirt road, and got there in about an hour, and that lion was treated in less than 20 minutes. So there was actually 2 lions. It was a female and a cub, we think. But we treated her. She jumped out once, treated her again, had a little fire, just hung around, decided that it was best to let her go and keep trying for a bigger tom. We're getting snow tonight, so the conditions should be perfect for the next couple of days. So it's looking promising, but I think we made the right call.
Yeah.
Didn't go. She was probably around 100 pounds. Wasn't a huge female. And I've told myself I'd shoot a female if I had the opportunity. But got up to her, took a picture of her 6 feet away from us in the tree, and I could have ended it right there, but just decided to go after big nasty tom. So hopefully that happens. But that's pretty much wraps up what happened today. Like I said, you can go check that out in the last video that we posted. That video is of everything today. Everything that went down is crazy. It was awesome, super exciting, and definitely got me pumped for the next couple of days. So
yeah, it was a ton of fun. And you kind of like glossed over the part where we made a decision to like not shoot this female, right? But what goes into that is a lot. Like the investment of time that Mike has made into being able to kill a lion. And money. If you guys are following along on his channel, you're aware of of that. And so it's kind of a nail-biting decision to let one go after all the work that's gone into it. But I think at the end of the day, he made the right call.
I think the confidence in Tyler too was huge.
Yeah,
Tyler Bowler. I don't know if you're familiar with Tyler Bowler, but he's a big lion hunter down here in southern Utah. And I think if it was any other lion hunter, I think I probably would have been more pressed to tell you to shoot it because we obviously have a little bit of confidence in what Tyler has to say. He's definitely an expert in that, so I think it made the decision a little easier.
Yeah, he definitely. If y'all go check him out on Instagram, he'll be linked in the description. He kills giant toms. So for him to sit there and say it's up to the hunter, but obviously he is very confident he can get on a big tom in the next couple of days with the weather that's coming in. I have no doubt that we have that opportunity with him. So he does it right, better than anybody I've ever been with. Like I said, this is my 6th trip. I've been with multiple outfitters, paid thousands and thousands of dollars, and this guy does it right. Most guys I go with, it's you and the guide, maybe a hand, and probably 5 to 8 dogs in the back of the truck. Depending on state too, I think different states allow more dogs or less dogs. But he has 4 trucks running, and I don't know if this is something he does with every client. I'm sure it's different all the time, but he has 4 trucks running. We had 20 dogs with us. They all had dogs in their trucks. I mean, it was like high class lion hunting as you can get.
Dog friendly.
And at the end, like, we only had to let a few dogs run, but he's got backups if ones get tired. And then I know he has other guides and stuff that are always looking, and probably but he runs a serious operation. Like, he's not playing around.
Yeah, for sure.
And with this one especially, I mean, we were pretty lucky because, I mean, I have clips of the truck and then the lion.
You can drive to him on a Forest Service road.
Like the road was.
I think that part was just luck.
I mean, there's a big luck aspect of it, but the way that he was working the track and being smart not to just blow out of there. But big part of lion hunting is you never know where it's going to end up. I mean, you could be in the bottom of the biggest pit, so that was a big fortunate thing for us especially for Mike, you know, working so hard for the last 6 different trips, and then to have an opportunity to like see a cat, and the decision is, I mean, it was over at that point. All he needed to do was make the shot, and I think Mike made a good call not to shoot the lion, and now we get to hunt tomorrow.
Yep, I'm pumped. So
I
think that wraps up today, but go check out that video. It is absolutely epic. At least it is for me, because I've never seen a lion and I've been after one for so long. So y'all go give it some love. Back to sheds. One of the big questions I have, so like I said, people make a living doing shed hunting. So what is like how do you find a buyer? What's the price? Is it per pound or per antler? I know there's a different price for whites and browns. What's the whole logistics of, like, if you're a high school guy and want to make some side money and go do that, what's the, like, what can you count on and stuff like that?
Real quick, we might edit this out, but do we want to maybe just, because that was like a big part of like lions and bouncing back and forth, we maybe want to make one of our podcasts about like maybe your lion hunt and my lion hunt, and kind of make it, you know, because we got to do a couple podcasts. I don't know. No,
I don't care.
I don't know. I just think
we should do that, but let's do like one podcast about hunting stories, and y'all can throw y'all's line hunts in there.
I mean, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I won't probably use that one, but that's cool. It doesn't matter. I was just thinking, like, we were talking a little bit about sheds, and then it's like came back. Where
I think a lion hunting podcast would be cool.
Yeah, I'd be down. And we could, but we're gonna tell the story of your big ass Tom tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So Antler's it's kind of like an unknown world. When I was a kid, it was a lot more just kind of like you meet up with some shady dude that smelled like cigarette smoke in a parking lot, and he'd buy all your antlers, and he'd also sell pumpkins and Christmas trees. It was like some jack of all trades. His name was Jeff Allen. If anybody's watching knows Jeff Allen. But we used to just sell them to whoever showed up in town, and we'd have a few that we picked up here and there. We didn't know a lot about pricing them out and stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't that competitive at the time. And then as it kind of became a little bit more popular, I started finding other antler buyers through social media, meeting dudes like on Instagram that were like, and advertising, oh, I grade better than anybody else, I pay the best price. My one buddy, Jared Steele, I got to know him really well over the last 5 years or so. And how I got to know him was him just buying my antler, and the dude was just unbelievably fair.
Yeah.
And I was like so used to getting ripped off. Like I've had antler buyers in the past where they'll look through your antlers and, oh, well, I can't give you full price on this one because it's got a broken tine, or this one's really close, but I got to bump it down, and this, like, you always felt like you walked away with less money in your pocket than you should have. And the first time I sold to Jared, I put all my antlers into piles, you know, according to what I thought they should be graded for, like chalk, hard white, and brown. And Jared went through, started taking antlers out of my chalk pile and putting them in the hard whites. And he took a couple out of my hard whites and put them in the brown. He's like, no, those grade better than how you had them graded. And like when I walked away from that deal, I had a lot more cash in my pocket. So I'm like, oh wow, there's actually trustworthy dudes out there doing it. So if you're gonna sell antlers, like, reputation says a lot. Jared has an excellent reputation. There's a lot of small guys that'll buy antlers here and there for like projects. You can get in touch with those guys on, like, sometimes you'll see people on Craigslist or social media
and stuff like that.
Yeah, dog chews is another huge one right now.
So what's the bulk, like the guy that you sell to, what's the bulk, what is he buying them for?
So he mostly exports his antler. When they were all kind of the rage in the late like 2010s till now, most of them are going to China for supplements. They use them for male enhancement.
Male enhancement.
Yeah, they make a powder out of it. It's like some all natural Viagra type crap. I don't know anything about it, but after
So it's like the Utah rhino horns.
Oh, it ain't Utah. It ain't Utah. It all goes straight to Texas, dude. They need it behind that high fence.
Yeah, whatever.
No, but I actually became partners with Jared and started buying antler for him when I quit my job to do this full time. That was one of the ways I supported it. So I would travel all over the western U.S. and I would just meet guys through social media that had like a decent stack of antler, like, and go set up maybe in a Sportsman's Warehouse parking lot or Cabela's or something and buy the antler from the people that I knew, and then also just people who showed up.
Yeah.
So price, what? Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, going back to when you're selling antlers, like the price for when an antler buyer, especially one that's a little shady, like they're gonna make their money on that grading from chalk and hard white and whatever they determine that is. Because I mean, typically, prices for antlers can change depending on the market, but there's usually a pretty big jump between chalks and hard whites. It can go from $2 a pound for chalk to $7 or $8 a pound for hard white, and then browns are 11, 12, 13, whatever that price may be. And 13 is actually on the higher end of what I've seen. But when they grade those antlers, they can be, they'll say something that is actually, in our opinion, maybe a hard white, and they're going to pay you $2 a pound for that rather than $7 or $8 a pound. And that's where those shady guys kind of get their, the dishonest guys will get their money, their big profits out of that. And they may even try and sweeten it up by giving you a crazy amount for the, an extra $1 for the browns to get you to sell to them, because there's no mistake in a brown. But then they're going to be the ones kind of sneaking little, hard whites into the chalk pile. And those are the things, and I agree with Ben 100% when it comes with Jared. He may not be paying the most expensive, the highest price for brown, but his grading is probably the best that I've heard of or seen with regard to that, and that's where you're going to end up making more in the long run. So if you ever do sell on to an antler buyer, those are a few things. That's like probably the biggest thing you want to look for is really how are they going to grade that chalk to hard white. And they, it's all, there's cracks on it, and whatever they want to tell you. But I mean, what would you classify a horn that goes from hard white to chalk?
So when they get flaky, like usually they're gonna go to chalk. Back in the old days, it used to be like if you had an elk antler and it had cracks in it, it was chalk automatically. And I think that's like the guys would do what you're saying. They would try to buy it from you for chalk price and sell it for hard white chalk or for hard white price, and that's how they would make their money. But big open cracks, pink and flaky, or like even gray off colored, you can expect them to get bumped. If they have like one good side that's like hard and has color on it and stuff, then you could say, oh, that's probably still a hard white antler.
Yeah.
So what are like today's prices, or even like when you started versus today? Like what are you looking at as far as prices per pound?
They're pretty similar. Deer antlers fluctuated a little bit, but elk's gone up and down, and people are saying, oh, it's going to drop or whatever. But I think elk right now, brown, is about $14 a pound.
Wow.
Hard white is like 10 to 11.
What's an average 6-point elk shed?
It depends on the state.
Yeah, like in Utah,
if
you pick like a nice 6-point elk shed, you're gonna weigh 8 to 10 pounds.
Dang.
But Arizona antlers, they could be really long. huge tines, but they're really hollow, light. Colorado bulls, really dense, lots of weight. Utah, really.
Is that from their feed and water?
Yeah, I think it's just the drier climate. They kind of finish out and they just kind of hollow up a little. But Utah always has really dense antlers, really big bases.
If you pick like a decent brown horn in Utah, you're looking at $100 bill pretty much. Like, and then plus. That's why it's so dang fun to find them. Because you go pick an elk shed and you're like $100.
Yep.
Nope, the other side, $100. Like, just keep going.
And that's why it's getting, people making money doing it and sweetens it up. And then I just love holding them. The antlers themselves are
That's
the
what
coolest
my
things
problem
ever.
would be, is I would want to keep everything I found. Like,
there's a lot of
I
guys
do a
that
lot
do
of
it.
arrowhead hunting, and I think that's similar to shed hunting.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's hunting. You are hunting 100%. And I would never sell an arrowhead, but I think it's crazy how you'll sell anything. You'll sell any antler or whatever.
I mean,
buck you shot or elk you shot.
Yeah, I did. I've sold a bull that I shot. I killed a big heavy bull with my muzzleloader, and he weighed a ton. And my buyer came to town, and I actually just brought the bull to show my buyer, Jared.
Yeah.
And Jared's like, I have a guy looking for a euro like that. If you want to sell it, I'll give you like $650 for it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. I killed it like 2 months before.
Yeah.
Here you go.
I got a freezer full. Take it.
And that's the thing to me. Like, I'm in it for the experience of finding that shed. And then I'm also in it for the financial side.
Yeah.
Some people hate that. Oh, it gets under their skin that you're in it to make money. But for me, like, that's part of my income. That's how I support my family. Like, there's been times where I've had an unexpected bill come up, or I've had, needed to fix something, and it's like, well, just go sell some antler out of the pile. And it's like a savings account.
Yeah.
So,
And so deer antlers value is a lot less as far as price per pound for some reason than elk sheds. So whenever I find a deer antler, a lot of times the price isn't even worth giving up the antler. So most of my deer horns I keep, and then but when it comes to elk sheds, there is money to be made out there. I don't ever look at it like, obviously, as it's just extra money, and so I try to tell my wife that I'll give her half of whatever I make on antlers. That way she lets me. So the more that she lets me go out, the more her pile is. So that's a good way that anyway.
See, the mark of a good horn buyer too. I need to tell this story. One time I sold Jared a bunch of antlers, like $1,900 worth,
Sheesh.
And my wife was waiting in the car while I sold all these antlers, and I unloaded them and everything, and Jared hands me all the money and everything. He's paid me in cash, and my wife got out of the car and walked up and asked, "Hey, how'd you do? How much did you get?" And Jared looks at my wife and says, $250.
Yes. That's a good antler buyer.
He's got my back.
Good antler buyer.
I'm like, you know what, babe? You can have it. Here you go.
That's awesome.
$250, all of it.
So what do you think about, not that I don't think either of y'all have done this, but like if I found, what do you think about finding a 400-inch set, perfect brown, and putting it on a mount and caping it? Like taking one of your capes and mounting it.
I couldn't do that.
Couldn't?
I'd rather have them
I could do that and just be like, dude,
I'd rather have
that's a set of sheds I found, and I just threw a cape on it.
Like the sheds, the coolest thing about antlers to me is being able to pick them up and hold
just
them,
moving
and
around.
look at the base. Like that's when you mount them, you ruin that perfect base.
I know. I don't
Just
care about the
hold them,
base,
dude.
dude.
And you got
a 400-inch bull
There's all
on the
kinds of
wall.
weird stuff that if you guys get deep into shed hunting culture, you'll start smelling antlers.
Yeah.
You pick up a brown elk shed, dude. Oh, it smells like pine with that little hint of elk piss in it.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I still have the 5-point that I shot this past season, and it's sitting in my shop. It sits on it's winter right now, so I'm not mowing. I'm about to have to start mowing, which sucks. But it's sitting so I have a 0-turn mower, and the arms are folded out, and the skull cap's on the bottom. It just sits there, and every time I walk into my office, it's just like smell of piss, and I'm like, I can't wait, dude. I can't wait for September.
It is awesome.
You get into some of that weird stuff, man. You pick up a fresh one, and they'll have a wax ring around the outside of it, where it finally detached that last little bit from their head, and that's how you know they got that fresh bloody base.
Yeah,
something about it.
It is something about it. Just
how long would you say a bloody base? How long do you think it's been since it's shed?
I've found hard whites with blood on the base.
Just dried blood.
Yeah, some of them last, some of them don't. I've also picked super fresh sheds that I know are way fresh.
Don't
didn't
have any blood.
Really?
It really depends.
I picked up one time a big chalk elk horn, and it was cracked, and I put it on my pack and started hiking out, and it bled all over my pack.
Just water that had mixed in there with the blood.
Yeah, it smelled like death.
Ooh.
Like a 10-year-old antler.
Oh,
That's
weird.
disgusting.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah.
But it's so fun. It's so fun to me. Like, the coolest thing about it to me is finding a new area. I like to go out in desolate places and go in the middle of nowhere in big country. Like, that's why I love shed hunting in Nevada so much, because you can drive 5 hours out in the middle of nowhere like Nevada and look and be like, that ridge looks money. Park, and you might have to walk a mile across the flat. You go out, hit this ridge, and if it pays off, it's like the coolest thing.
And when you start finding old stuff, that's when it's like, oh yes, you know,
Zone.
that's like when you start finding old stuff. It's I mean, you're really motivating. And then you come out with 2 flat tires and tow it out nowhere.
That's another thing
That's
though
one
that
of these videos.
I think is like, if I was a Western guy, I would probably shed hunt, because you learn so much about the animals in your area, and you're hunting year round.
Yeah.
So like, as soon as hunting season ends, you're scouting where those animals are, because you want to be there when those animals shed, and so you're watching the animals that you hunt year round.
Yeah, I go to better units to shed hunt than the units that I hunt, but I definitely do try to keep tabs on some of the deer that we're trying to kill.
Yeah, but I mean, like, say you draw a tag in a unit that's your best shed hunting unit, like, you have it dialed.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of buddies draw tags and like the stuff I love to shed hunt in Nevada, and you can just be like, oh, you got a late rifle tag? Well, the bulls will be on this ridge and this ridge and this ridge.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is cool.
You can't really do that until, I mean, you saw when you came down to shed hunt in Texas, there's no pattern. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, there's
No
patterns as far
migration.
as like going through. You'll find them under cedars more than you will under oak tree or something.
Yeah, and it's also cool shed hunting, especially when you know bucks that are in the area during the hunts, and then you're just always going like, man, did that buck make it through? And then you find out somebody finds the sheds, or that you find a side and you're like, oh, he's alive. And that's kind of like a huge relief too when you're shed hunting. So yeah, it is in a way, it is scouting all year long.
Yeah, and like having trail cam pics of a giant buck and you go find a set, like, that's cool.
Yeah, I love
I
that.
think that's awesome.
I geek out on that stuff. You learn a lot about them. Like, you guys in Texas especially, you have so much to hunt year round, you know. You go down there and you're like, oh man, we go to this or this or this or this.
Yeah.
Right now in Utah, like, you can hunt lions, jackrabbits,
Shed hunt.
and shed hunt. Like, that's all there is to do right
Y'all
now.
hunt
You shoot
jackrabbits?
coyotes.
Yeah.
Huh?
Y'all hunt jackrabbits?
I mean, not intentionally, like a bike kill.
Yeah, you go out hunting something else and
Roadkill. Oh, there's a jackrabbit. Let's feed the
But you
coyote.
can't even eat jackrabbits out here because they
Yeah,
all have
they got-
tularemia. So it's like,
Really?
yeah, there's just, the small game opportunities aren't that good out here, and shed hunting was always the way, like, to hunt when there was nothing to hunt.
Yep.
And then it was also like something you could do when you were broke that could possibly pay for itself.
Yeah.
Because I remember hopping, I was always getting in my geo tracker. I had like a 93 geo tracker, and I would romp that thing out to Nevada. I'd get off work like at 9 or 10 at night and drive all night Friday night, and then I'd start hiking Saturday morning. And I'm like, first horn pays for the trip, first horn pays for the trip. Find one elk shed, it's like, now we're in cash positive.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And hike
Yeah,
all
so
day.
it's everything else beyond
Drive
that is a
home.
bonus. When it comes to the, so if you don't shed hunt and you want to start, you know, you got to be prepared. But if you do shed hunt, you know kind of what the pressure is like out there. Have you thought about, like, because you shed hunt multiple states out in the West, like,
Yeah.
what it is across different states, and you see seasons in some states and no seasons in others. And then, but as far as the pressure that goes to some of these units, do you think that maybe it's up to the wildlife management to do something like create seasons, or even manage, regulate how many people go and shed hunt, or what are your thoughts on the amount of pressure that's out there?
It definitely does have,
Because it's getting crazy.
yeah, it is getting crazy for sure. I've been like traditionally super opposed to shed laws and shed seasons because I think hunters have common sense and they can self-regulate. Like, there's always going to be bad apples in any scenario. There's going to be guys that go try to do dumb stuff or maybe chase them on a four-wheeler to get them, which is always this example that people use, but I don't ever see anybody really doing it. But like, I think that I'm okay with shed regulations as long as they're backed in science and they're like analytical in their decision making. Like, the blanket closures piss me off.
Yeah.
Nevada has a blanket closure for all the counties that border.
Oh, sorry we lost you guys there. Camera tapped out. But we were talking about blanket closures. What is a blanket closure?
Yeah, so blanket closure is like basically saying the whole state or the whole part of the state is shut down from like January 1st to May 1st. That's how it is in Nevada. So it's kind of annoying. Like I wish they would be more like analytical with it and decide like, let's close down maybe this basin that has extra snowfall, or like this area that has a lot of winter kill, instead of just saying like, oh, let's close off the whole state because people can't handle themselves. So it's stuff that we deal with in the West. I'm not sure how it is in other places. You know, like I've kind of been interested, and I'd be curious to know if you guys let us know in the comments too, like what's shed hunting like where you're at, especially you Eastern guys, whitetail guys. Some of the guys maybe hunt blacktails or Roosevelts, whatever. But tell us what it's like, because I want to learn more about it and see what it's like in other places.
Same here. I want to learn more about whitetail shed hunters, because I mean, I'm set up for shed hunting for whitetail. I just don't do it. But
I think we need to plan a trip out east, go shed hunting out there.
For sure.
So I'd like to pick up some whitetail antlers. I've never found one.
Get Mike out here for some elk sheds too.
Yep, I'm ready to find some elk sheds for sure. But
Saturday.
hope you guys enjoyed this episode. A lot more to come. Line hunting the next couple days, so stay tuned. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and keep it real.